Welcome back, friends, and hope you guys are doing well. It's another live stream night. It is Monday, so that's what we're doing. Hope you guys are doing well. It's really cold in Colorado. I just came in from plowing the driveway on the ATV with a big snow blade. It's man, it's an interesting night. Got a new lid courtesy of the old man, so thanks, Pop. Want to say hi to all of you. You are Super Bowl champions, and I think that's something everyone in Chiefs Kingdom has been waiting to say for quite a long time. Our super mod is in the room. That's Aaron Morrow. Make sure you check him out. If there's a problem, let him know. If I miss a question, let him know. Aaron, I appreciate everything you do, and I know everybody else does too. Along with Gary and Hog Farmer and Jerry and all kinds of friendly faces. I see all of you guys. Eric Peregrine's in. How are you, buddy? What I'm talking about shifting into is the offseason preparation for next season. That's why I titled this video what I did. Excuse me. A little bit of business. Tonight's beer is Wolf Picker from Odell. Experimental IPA. Pretty cool. It's got some Southern Hemisphere hops in it. It's pretty nice. Give that a shot if you get a chance. That's from Odell. If you want to support the channel, you can use the super quotes. You can use drop some stickers in there. They all work and they're all great. Got one of the designs back that I've been waiting on, and I just came up with another one. You guys are going to see some new shirts hopefully here in a little bit. I have some videos prepped for you. I'm going to do next week's live Monday night, hopefully the same time. We'll have to play it by ear because I'm going to be on vacation in Florida. So it's going to be one of those deals. I'm going to have to play it by seat of my pants to try to get everything done. Kids have a gymnastics tournament down there, so we're hanging out. So it's just one of those things that I'll have to play it by ear, but I will let you guys know, and I'll try to put up a community post before that as well. Everything is going pretty well. We're going to make some side steps. A lot of you are contributing. Eric Peregrine's working on some very cool designs for some shirts as well. I'll get you guys those. We're going to have a bigger plan for training camp next year. I will be back the weekend after they play their first game, just like always. So I'm sure you'll be able to run into me and probably Aaron out there as well. So Dylan's already off on the super chats, so I appreciate that. I guess I better get to answering your questions. But remember, if you want to support the channel, the super chats, super stickers, the t-shirt thing underneath, those all help. And we'll keep on trucking through here. I'll have more film for you this week. Dan Harms is going to do another piece for you this week. And then we'll get back to the lives next week. Have some interesting things going on with the Locked On Chiefs podcast as well. Some crossovers that we're doing with the rest of the AFC West, so you can find out what they think they're going to do to try to catch up with the Chiefs. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to scroll back up because I saw Metal Rocker was in here and he asked a question earlier. I'm going to start with him. And he says, it's good to see you too, bud. First question is, can we find another running back like Jamal Charles in the draft this year? And if so, which college? I'm thinking Penn or Georgia. Swift is the kid from Georgia, and I think he's close. I mean, nobody's Jamal, though. Having speed like his is pretty explosive. I haven't seen anybody that runs quite like him. The way that he could especially twist his upper body to get through some of those tackles, I still feel that's really, really unique. But there are some options. I don't know that it's an imperative for the team, though. I feel like the team likes Damian. They like Darwin. They like Darryl. I think they're going to add to it. And I'm just not sure where. If they do go get somebody, I think it's going to be more of the sprint out type that you're talking about, guy that can hit the edge and really accelerate, almost like having somebody similar to Ty Hill in the backfield, and that goes a long way towards what they're doing in terms of overall team speed. Something that's definitely a thing for them. John Snyder, your question: any chance the Chiefs be interested in Dunbar from Washington? I'm not sure. I haven't done any film on him yet, so I'm not 100%, but I will definitely put him on the list. I have a list developing. I'm going to give you guys some videos about the pre-draft process. I'll highlight some guys. I'll go through some comparisons. I'll do comparisons to the Rogue Analytics from last year, which is all the athleticism metrics that I do. Jeff Porter's helping me with that this year. Getting a lot of buy-in from a lot of folks, and that's been great. But I do the athletic matrix every year on the draft class. That will be like normal, and you'll see the draft guide come out. Let's see. Billy Gottschalk, if Sammy goes, is our wide receiver core good enough, or do we search for replacements? It's pretty good, but you also search for replacements as well. It's constant reload when you have a quarterback like Mahomes, who, as good as he is, without receivers to get downfield, he can't take advantage of his arm. And there's Hill and there's Hardman. I expect another speed guy, hopefully one that has a bigger body. If they move around or if he falls in the draft, I think Henry Ruggs might be a really good example of what they're looking for, a guy with a little bit bigger body, but the speed to run with Hardman at least, maybe not Hill, but a guy that's very, very fast. And that just adds another layer. The key is you're trying to replace somebody that is not always going to line up as an X, but will line up as an X quite a bit. In fact, I'm going to do Sammy's big play against Sherman here later in the week, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. The X is going to line up on the line of scrimmage a lot of the time and is going to face man pressure. Is going to have to physically play press and beat it. So you can't have little guys. Hill can do it because of how quickly he accelerates laterally to break that press. Hardman has a hard time getting off a press because he's just not that physically built. I think he'll get better, but it's still never going to be his forte. So you want somebody that's a little bit bigger built, definitely more functionally strong in order to break that press and get into their route. That's exactly what Sammy did against Richard Sherman, who's one of the best zone corners in the league. He can play press man, and he does from time to time, but Sammy got him, and I think that's why. Sammy's physicality really helps him in that way. So great question, Billy. I think they will be looking for there's a really deep wide receiver class, so they have plenty of options. Let's see, who's next? Jarek Terahoke. Hope I said that anywhere close to right, Jarek. I think this is your first question that I've answered, so welcome. And of course, as soon as I go to scroll to it, it flips on me, so I have to go back. Okay, here we are. Should the Chiefs upgrade the running back through free agent like Melvin Gordon, or get a running back in a draft such as Damian and all of them? They can't afford Melvin Gordon. I'll tell you that right now. They can't afford Derrick Henry. There's just not enough dollars to go around right now. Maybe after the CBA, that will change. We don't know. But right now, they're not going to prioritize a high dollar free agent. Middle ones, I think they gave, was it 2.5 or 3 to LaShawn? I think 1.8, I think, went to Spencer Ware. So they have some there. Some free agents along that line in terms of cost, I think that would be just fine. I don't think they would balk or have any trouble getting there. But high dollar, that's just not a position they're going to spend on, and he doesn't use it enough. They have a lot to get done, quite frankly. And I think it's going to take every cent that they can muster. Okay, Curtis Douglas. What are some possible surprise cuts this offseason? You don't have to cut Robinson. He's going to get a contract from somebody else. It could be Dan Sorensen. I don't think so, especially after how well he played in the playoffs. And I fully admit, Dan in the playoffs, I'm down with. I don't know that Laurent Duvernay-Tardif played as well down the stretch as what the team had hoped for and expected. I don't know if that translates to them not wanting to spend the money. He is due for, I think, $8.9 million this year as an interior lineman. That's kind of high, but I don't know if it's high enough that they want to do that. Other surprise cuts. There's not a whole lot of cutting that they have to do. They have so many free agents. I think there's 22 total. So, yeah, I don't see a whole lot of surprise cuts coming. Sammy, LDT, possibly Sorensen. Let's see. Dylan Kruckman, thanks for your Super Chat donation. I appreciate that. Do you feel that Ward was an upgrade over Steve Nelson? I do. Overall, I do feel that he was. And partially, it's a little deceptive there because I think Ward also got a push from being in Spag's system. I don't think Nelson played well under Sutton. It played as well as he could have under Sutton. So I think with the change, if Steve Nelson still been here, I think he probably would have played better as well. I think that was due to the scheme that Sutton ran. So, I mean, Spags would have helped either, I think. But yes, in terms of output and performance, I do feel that Travarius Ward was an upgrade over Steve Nelson, and that was a good one. You saw him get beat a couple times in the Super Bowl as well. I mean, that's going to happen against a team that's in the Super Bowl. They're that good. But I do still feel that they could use a CB1 over the top of him. I think right now he's the best they have. I still feel like his top end is probably across the league a CB2, and that's perfectly fine. So I think that they go out, and that should be a high priority pick in the draft. I don't think they're going to be able to get somebody like Byron Jones or any of the other like experienced, not veteran, but some experienced high dollar cornerbacks. Again, that contract's just going to be hard to manufacture when you have to take into account what's going to happen with Chris Jones. That's either an extension or a franchise tag. Now, an extension gives you a lot more money in year one, given the way that they always structure their contracts. But that's the only way. And then you have the Mahomes thing, and that's going to be epic. So until the CBA is signed, you don't know what kind of relief you're going to get there. You're going to get about 10 or 12 million above what the cap was last year. That's generally how it grows each season. So they'll have a little bit more room, but it's not going to be a ton. Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate it. Let's see who's next. Zach Scott. Trade LDT and a third for Dunbar. I don't think LDT is going to have a whole lot of trade value at that contract level. That's a tough one. There are guards that are playing better that make a lot less money. Let's see. Aaron, what did Aaron say? How great would it be to be? Oh, I'm with you. Okay. Jake Alec, thanks for your donation. Make sure you ask a question too, man. I want to get you something for it. Appreciate that. Eric Peregrine. When do we get to see the Super Bowl rings? That's a really good question. I want to say it will be, the presentation is usually the following season. I'm not like the home opener, possibly. I'm not sure. It depends on who they're using for their vendor and just how elaborate the design is. And quite frankly, I could see it being a really elaborate design. So maybe that takes even longer. Maybe it takes till this time next year. I don't know. In fact, Brit Chief had a really interesting concept of the design. He laid out like how many jewels of what color and that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool. It's on my Twitter feed, and I know it's on his. So check that out if you get a chance. Let's see. Gary Holland, who do you see getting cut, and would you like to stay? We talked about the cuts a little bit. The guys that I want to stay are generally free agents. I think you can sign them back on generally low-end, cheaper deals. Not cheap, but cheaper. I want to see him get Sherman back for sure. I really like where John Lovett is, and I'm going to give you guys a comparison here in a couple of weeks of him and the guy that you saw score for the 49ers in the Super Bowl, Kyle Juszczyk. They are almost identical athletically, and that's important. The difference is weight-wise, Juszczyk's got about 20 pounds on Lovett, and Lovett was a college quarterback. But they move very well. They accelerate very well for their size, and I feel like you might see Andy try to do some things they did with Kyle with John Lovett. I felt really positive about him in camp last year. He got hurt. That's what happens. I think there are some wrinkles that Andy could actually take from the Niners offense and put into the Chiefs offense. Some of those pivot routes, pivot blocks, I think a lot of that could be coming down to John Lovett, and he can be that H-back, fullback, small tight end kind of guy. But I don't think he's a big lead blocker. He's never done that I know of. So I do like the idea of Sherman coming back. And I also want to see Reggie Ragwood come back. If they go get a speed linebacker, which is kind of what I expect, coverage guy, could even be in the early rounds, maybe even a Kenneth Murray if he falls that far. That still leaves you susceptible to the run. And we've all seen what happens when they can't stop the run. Mike Pennell's a free agent. He's another guy. Again, to make sure that you can stop the run next season, I think they have to have Mike Pennell back. He played this year on an $800,000 contract, which for a 29-year-old veteran, that's not much. So I feel like he's affordable. He'll get a raise, I'm sure, but he's affordable, and he really solidified that front. He and Reggie really give you the ability to do what they did and combat the run when you have to. So those are a couple of guys. Firefighter Farmer, how are you, bud? Reed expressed interest directly to Randy Moss about his son. His son's Thaddeus Moss of LSU, who is a third-round pick on my board right now, and a guy that I really like. doesn't have the whole lot of experience. It didn't come through big, but he played better as his career went on. And I think you saw in the national championship game, he was a great target for Burrow. The game before that in the semis, I thought he did really well. I like Thaddeus Moss, and I think that's a good point, Firefighter. What would be the highest pick that you would go get him? Right now, I have him as a top 100. That means he's in the first 3 rounds, but not any higher than like 80. So the second half of the 3rd round is where I have him right now. And I haven't done his film. I'm just going off of what I've seen live in the playoff games especially, but I caught him a little bit earlier in the season too. Again, not a whole lot of volume for him, not as much as you would say from like Fenton Hopkins like you saw last year. But a really interesting guy, a guy you don't have to spend a first-round pick on. I like that. And leaves room to grow. Both Blake Bell and Deion Yelder are free agents. One of them's restricted. I think it's Yelder. But they're both free agents. Doesn't mean that they're going to come back. So there's definitely room at the tight end position. I think they need another weapon there, somebody who can actually produce consistently. I know Bell scored his first touchdown, and I'm happy for him, but I don't think he's enough of a weapon to draw any coverage away from anybody, or quite frankly, to exploit the coverage when it goes elsewhere. So that's what I want to see. And just before we get any farther, I do want to say that the reason that Andy's on the cover is because Andy talked very specifically at the rally about getting back to the Super Bowl. I'm a little happy that he just said one more time, because take it year by year. You know what I mean? Everyone's talking dynasty and stuff, and you can get caught up in that. And I think it's wise to just focus on 2020, and I think that's great. By the way, I do have a special project. Had a one-man film crew out at the rally, and I got some really good footage out of it. He did a great job. And I am putting together, it's kind of a special video that won't feature me talking to you on the camera. You know, there'll be some other things about the rally and that kind of stuff. I'm going to set it in a completely different way from what this channel usually is. And it's going to take me a while to edit and really get right. So look for that maybe March-ish, something like that. But it's going to be super cool, and I'm really excited about it. Got some great stuff. Had a lot of folks tweet at me footage and pictures from the rally. If you have yours, tweet them to me. The drive that I set up on Dropbox failed immediately as soon as 2 people tried to add to it, and it just went haywire. So now the best way to do it is just tweet it at me, at Ryan Tracy NFL. If you're not on Twitter, find somebody who is. Or send it to a pal or whatever, and just tweet it at me and tag it Chiefs Rally. That always helps. Let's see. Who else? Jay Kane, can you explain how you and Chris Clark got together and how all of that came about? You know, that's a really interesting story. So I used to be a strength and conditioning coach, right? And so even when I got out of football in 2000, and I took a job in another industry and kind of went and did that, I kept a personal training business. I trained athletes on the side. And so I always kept metrics, and I always paid attention to the draft, and I used to be a strength and conditioning coach, so that fed in, right? And so I was always paying some attention. And then if you guys caught it in the 2013 draft or the 2014 draft, I can't remember what it was. I posted my draft science up on my personal website, and then Arrowhead Pride picked it up into the fan posts there. And that's how I got hired by a small website doing all the AFC West writers. And I'm a terrible writer, you guys. I can't spell. I type really badly. Even when I voice type text, it all goes crazy. So like the written word is really not my thing. But I found myself in that position where I had all these writers working with me, and I got to the point where I needed help planning it out, and I went to Chris because he's a really good writer, and he really picks up on the small details that I don't. The fan aspect of it, stuff that's less about analytics. And so we ended up just talking about planning stories and whatnot, and finally I was like, listen, I'm just going to stop writing, start podcasting. I need somebody to come with me so people don't have to just listen to me all the time. That's exactly how the podcast started. And it was my first one. I had started the Check With Me podcast, which was just me at first. And that went just fine. It was growing slowly, but when we added Chris and he started coming on with me, that's when it really took off. And then we got picked up by Locked On Chiefs and asked to join them after our first season as Check with Me as a duo. That's how it's gone. Branching out to this is because this is what I do the rest of the time. And I don't have to type. Usually I don't have to type much. If you guys find typos in the show descriptions and all that, that's why. Great question, Jay. And thanks for asking. It's kind of a long answer. Sorry about that. Oregon Chiefs Chris. Sorry, I always do that to your name. Where would you like to see Veach concentrate this offseason? Really at the impact points. There's 4 major impact positions on a football team, and you've heard about them all before from me. The quarterback's pretty much taken care of, right? Although I can't remember who floated this idea. It might have been Bill Barnwell. I'm not sure. But I do like the concept of Marcus Mariota as a backup quarterback, a guy that's an athlete, that has quarterback experience, that can step in, do the RPO stuff that Pat does. If he ever gets banged up and has to miss another 2 or 3 games, I'd love to see that, especially because he should be cheap like Chad Henne was. I think that's important. I don't think you just want to go with Shermer and another drafted guy. I think you want somebody with some experience. So I think you want to do that, and I think you want to find some secondary guys, some corners specifically, coverage guys that can lock up and play a little bit more man than they did this season. Although team tendencies as it comes down right now, and I don't have the final numbers after the playoffs, but 53% man, right? So they played almost as much zone, which really opens up the possibilities for what kind of corner you can go get. So that allows Veach to be casting his net a lot wider, and I think that helps him get something done for a guy that can contribute to the defense. And I know that he's going to have to work on depth. What we saw was great depth from the defensive line this year. He has to replenish some of that because of injuries and because of contracts. And they have to get to the same point where they have that much depth on the offensive line as well. I do anticipate a couple of changes on the starters, but I do think that they have to have more depth, better depth. It took them a while to come around to playing Wiz, and once they did, they figured it out. Just that veteran presence really helps. Wiz is a free agent, and honestly, I don't think he's fit to be a starter for 19 games again. So I don't know that Wiz is back. If he is, look for him not to be a starter, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Let's see. That's a great question, by the way, Chris. John Schneider, I talked about Dunbar. I don't know enough about him yet. Dan Durham, is it crazy to say leave Mahomes on his rookie contract and keep Watkins and possibly franchise tag Jones? It's not crazy, but Sammy isn't going to play on that contract. The Chiefs are not going to go there. They need that money for Jones, to tell you the truth, unless they could get a really great structure on an extension that they can agree on. So far, I haven't heard anything about that. I'd like to see Sammy come back on a restructure is what I'd like. I'd like him to tear that contract up and give him a new deal in the 7 to 8 range. They could even go as high as 10, but that cuts into what you can do. So that's tough. You're not crazy. I just don't think that's going to happen. Aaron Morrow, does Sammy take less money to stay? I hope so. I think he wants to. I think that stuff Super Bowl week about sitting out for a year, I think that was kind of like, if I can't play with the Chiefs, then maybe that's what I'll do. So I hope that that's motivation for him to come back and take a lesser contract so that can happen, because I think he's key. I am disappointed he didn't do more in the middle of the season. It was like week 1 in the playoffs. Need a little more than that from a $16 million man. What will be a $19 million man next season? But Sammy did what he needed to do and got them over the hump and gave them another guy that could beat single man coverage and, quite frankly, could beat zone coverage over the top of him when they had to, especially against Richard Sherman of all people. So it did pay off, and I think that alone helps earn his money, to tell you the truth. Excuse me. I'm obviously not drinking enough. Okay, so Southern Belle, how are you? When do you plan to open your post office box? I have one on order. They're just waiting to open it. I will let you guys know where it is, and we can go from there. My actual post offices, I live out here in the sticks too far. They don't have them, so I had to go to a UPS store, and they're actually full. So once I closed mine in November, they gave it away, but they said they should have one for me in the next week or two. So I will let you guys know at that point. Thank you, though, Belle. I appreciate it. Sammy and Fish to pick. Zach Scott, that's not a bad idea. I don't know that Fish would take a big pay cut, but you could extend him and get his cap number down. And I think that's okay. I think Fish has shown that he is that good of a tackle. He's not elite, but he's a really good tackle. I think that showed off in the Super Bowl, especially. He got beat a couple times, but he also held his own a lot as well against a front that has beat up most of the league. So I take that as a positive sign. Curtis Douglas, what's it going to take to retain Bashaud Breeland? About $9 or $11 million a year. Somebody's going to pay him, and it's not going to be the Chiefs. He really does. He really stepped up his game. He made some big plays, Super Bowl plays. Those earn you money. Somebody's going to give him a big time contract, probably his own team, and he's going to do what he does. Okay. Testicular tactics. Is Joe Burrow bolstered by his great receiving core? Yes. I see more Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I could see a little bit of that. The hair distracts me, so I never know what I'm doing. But there are a lot of good athletes on LSU's receiving core, and that does include Thaddeus Moss. But there are good guys. I mean, was it Kane? Lawrence has some targets and has had some targets to throw to as well. So Kane might have graduated last year. I can't remember. So I mean, all of them are, but I do like both of them. I haven't dug into film on quarterbacks this year, given the Mahomes situation. I don't have to. I do take passing glances at them because there are so many more resources for you guys. If you want quarterback information, you have to follow Mike Schofield. He knows everything. College quarterback, really good at explaining the college quarterback game and the leap to the pros. Check him out, definitely. So I only have, a general feel for Lawrence, but I like him as well. Andy Anderson, do you think that Coach Daly can help Breeland Speaks find his inner K-Pass? I like the way you put that. A year ago, we would not have been saying that, right? But I do feel that Coach Daly has a unique way. And I hope you guys saw the little clips during the Super Bowl, during the AFC Championship game of him. He seems like a harsh guy, but he gives praise. He acknowledges when you play well. And I think that's key to getting guys to change what they do. And I feel he's done a very good job. And he does have the moxie to maybe get to Breeland Speaks. I'm not sure Breeland Speaks is sold on being a pro football player, though. I warned everybody when he came out that his motivation was not necessarily to be a dominant football player. That's what I heard at the draft or at the combine. And while I think he has some tools, and I did say in my pre-draft review of Breeland Speaks that he's just as good inside at the 3 technique as outside. So I do feel that he and K-Pass are going to have that in common where they can kind of bounce back and forth. And if he's serious and he's come back in shape, built up his upper body a little bit, I think he can make a transition. It's going to be about Speaks more than it is about Daly, though, Andy. That's how I feel about it. Metal Rocker, if you were Veach, what defensive positions would you draft in rounds 1, 2, and 3? Corner, and linebacker. I'm really not kidding. I could see them taking 2 corners in the first 3 rounds, to tell you the truth. And here's a scenario for you, and it's not that far-fetched. If they can't get a corner that they like, linebacker at 32 is not really going to be there. Anybody that I think that can help them dramatically. Not enough. So I think they will move back, if at all. I don't see them moving up for anyone. I do see them moving back. And if you get that, and if you could get 4 top 100 picks, definitely 2 corners a linebacker, an offensive lineman. Those are the top priorities in my mind. Thaddeus Moss or a skilled tight end could move in there. You could see a defensive lineman. If they're stuck at 32 and they can't find a trade partner, you could see them go defensive line as well. And if they get somebody they really like, then that kind of tells you what they think about extending Chris Jones. Gary, who do you want the Chiefs to draft in the first round? Right now, the guy that I think fits the best, if Spags stays true to playing more man, would be Christian Fulton, corner LSU. If Spags wants to go to play more zone, which he might want to do, they're so split down the middle this year, and Spags has played a lot of interesting zone over the years. I can see them looking at Trayvon Diggs from Alabama. He might be there in the second round. Christian Fulton's going to be close. He's fallen off some, but I do feel that he has the skills. It's about coaching for him. Those are two guys on the top of my list. Marshall Smith, do you feel Fuller gets re-signed as a safety? Do you think he showed enough on the team to want to keep him around? Seems like a good duo with Matthew. I do, Marshall, and that's a very good point. He's not a corner anymore in my mind. He does have some of those skills, obviously, but he got pretty beat up, especially in the nickel. I would like to see him come back as a safety, especially because I think he gives you, at the end of the day, more coverage possibilities than Dan Sorensen does. Dan's a box safety. He does that well. I like having Dan up there. But a box safety is what, for the most part, Tyrann Mathieu is as well. Robber box, a little bit different. But Juan's coming off of a need. They need him to be a deep center free safety. You need another safety that can cover, and cover is his main thing. Not run support, not blitzing, and that's what Dan Sorensen does so well. So I do feel that safety's the spot for Fuller, and I'd like to see Fuller back. It might be at the expense of Dan Sorensen, like I talked about before. If they do cut him, it may be because of that. Oh man, that's a tough one. I do like them as a duo with Matthew, so you're absolutely right there. Cole Kelleher, sorry, man, I got it right once. I swear I did, Cole. What do you think we'll have on the sausage as far as whether or not he resigns? I think he'll be back. I think he'll take a minor contract, a cheap contract, in order to stay with the team that he loves and a team that loves him. That special teams unit, man, revolves around him. I think Andy isn't going to use him as much as I want him to, but I think Anthony's okay with where he's at in terms of offensive snaps. I think he'd like to return. He is up there in age, so I don't know that he's going to get a much better contract from somewhere else. So I want to see him and Lovett in the backfield together. That's what I want. And no, Finn, you're absolutely right. You get Juan back, but a late season knee injury is always a concern for me. Especially for a guy that does have to change direction on every play. He's got to backpedal and cut. So that's a little bit of a concern how late that was. But you're right. I really like what Juan did. I think he proved to be the best free safety specifically, but safety in this draft class, exactly where I had him at the top of my draft board and the top of the athletic matrix, which is, for those of you who don't know or you joined late, the Athletic Matrix is my company, Rogue Analytics. That's what we put out the metrics for functional athleticism at every position. Juan Thornhill was number one, and he proved it. Hog Farmer, thoughts on John Lovett coming back? I covered that. I think I'm way behind in the chat now, you guys. I must be. I'll get cooking here. Thoughts on linebacking core, maybe Hitchens restructures. He could. I don't know that they want him to, because I do feel like Hitchens has underwhelmed. Even though he played much better this season, I still think he's underwhelming, so I don't think they want to extend him in terms of years. I think they'll suffer through this contract, and then they'll part ways. John Schneider, Testicular Tactics. Chris Conley had one of the greatest verticals in history, and he never hurdled anyone. I'm glad he doesn't have a ring. Also, why don't running backs jump for a TD like Priest Holmes anymore? Honestly, because linebackers are more athletic and can meet them in the air more. And I disagree with you. I liked Chris Conley. I don't think he was given the opportunity to do what he did best until Mahomes came along. I mean, and they showed that highlight last week. I think Chris Conley has one of the better tight ends in Mahomes' career, and that one in the back of the end zone. And I think had he stayed If he had been a year younger, I think he would have grown in with Mahomes a lot more, to tell you the truth. But the linebacker running back thing is evolving, but I still feel like in terms of size and girth, I still feel like the linebackers can stop the guys when they try to go over the pile. John Schneider, do you think the Chiefs keep Damian Wilson? Yes, there is a slight possibility they could cut him. They will save, I think it's $3.5 million, might be 4.5. I can't remember off the top of my head. If they were to move on, but then they're down 2 linebackers from their starting 3, right? And I don't think they want to do that. So he's under contract. They can keep him, certainly. They only have to move on if they want to. Rob Mulligan, do you have you seen the schedule for next year? And do you think we could go on another playoff run? I do. You get to play the AFC East and the NFC South again, right? So NFC South means possibly a Drew Brees-less Saints, right? That doesn't bother me. It means a Carolina team, right? I'm not too worried. I can see them going and repeating. Definitely see that as a possibility. Jerry Cole, should we try to entice Suggs to come back for a little more money? I wouldn't mind it. I feel like he had a positive impact in the short time that he was on that roster. Now, I don't think that he really wants to play anymore. I think the writing's on the wall, and I think he might be done. If he was going to sign a contract now that he's an unrestricted free agent, my guess is it would be Baltimore to play that kind of situational pass rusher role. But you never know. I don't know. I certainly wouldn't mind to see it. I think he can help the young guys like K-Pass, like Damone Harris, and quite frankly, I think they're probably gonna pick up another speed rusher, to tell you the truth, because they don't have that aspect. Somebody they can come in and really attack with speed as a secondary pass rusher. I like that idea. Tactics. Why do we use Hitchens and Wilson more than Dorian and Ragland? Ragland, it's a speed thing. Reggie's pretty good at attacking routes in front of him. He can get to hook zones. He can get out to the sideline sometimes because, again, he just has to turn and run. It's when he has to backpedal that he gets in trouble, when he has to carry receivers downfield. That's not Reggie's thing. He's a forward-facing linebacker. And they just ask their linebackers to do more in coverage. I'm not sure that I'm that much more impressed with Wilson, to tell you the truth, though. And Dorian O'Daniel, to me, is a mystery. I thought he should have played a lot more this season. I don't know what the plan is for the future with him. I'll be very interested to see. Finn, with everybody healthy, how scary is the defense going to be next year? Everybody healthy is going to be pretty good. They do have some holes, though. The corners are empty. The only corners they have right now are, with any playing experience, they do have Alex Brown, I think 5 snaps or something. They have Rashad Fenton, they have Travaris Ward. That's all they have on this roster for next season right now. So that is a serious concern. They do have to patch those holes. Northwest Cats 42. Could we get Jason Kelsey from Philly? I don't think so. Money's going to be a problem there. But you never know. Motivation comes in a lot of different ways. Playing with your brother is probably one of them. Tactics. Why wasn't Mitchell Schwartz put on Nick Bosa? Quite frankly, because they don't get to choose. Schwartz is a right tackle, period. Bosa and Ford flip a lot, but they felt that they wanted to attack Bosa on fish. Fine by me. You saw what happened with D Ford. Oh, wait, no, you didn't hardly hear his name. Good thing for the Chiefs, right? But that's why. Schwartz is a right tackle, period. He's not going to move around. Dudley Smith, did we get rid of DOD? No. Jordan Daniels on the roster. He's under contract. They could part ways if they really felt like it, but there's no need to. He's cheap. He's on his rookie deal. I don't think he's going anywhere. Jerry Cole, are we going to keep Okafor and Agba considering their injuries? Okafor's still under contract, so yes. I don't think they're going to cut him. I think it would cost them like $3 or $4 million to cut him in terms of cap space, so I don't see that happening. Agba's a free agent. I don't know if he's restricted or not. They might be able to tender him. But I think that your point is about the injuries, and that's a very good point. That's what it comes down to. If they feel that they both made recoveries, then they'll both be here because I think that they like the vibe that they got from those guys. I thought both of them were playing at a career level for both of themselves. I think Okafor would have gotten there eventually. I think Agba did get there in terms of sack production. Not sure about tackle production. I think he did miss his own previous best. But I think they both put in quality snaps, and I think the Chiefs like them. I just don't know if Agba's going to get a better contract elsewhere. I said the day it happened, when he hurt himself, that saved the Chiefs money in trying to re-sign him. They have a chance to do it. Jake Alleg, who would you want to see back, Fuller or Breland? Man, I like them both. I was calling for Breland the year that he didn't sign, and I like the guy. The team seems to like the guy. Fuller is the same way. He's not a leader type. He's kind of quiet from what I understand. Certainly seems like that from what I see in the media. So I think I'd go with Fuller. I think Fuller can help you more at safety than Breland can at corner. That's just my idea. Let's see. Finn, offensive line improvement. Yes, please. I do think they're going to change a couple of guys. Let's see. Dean, 3121. Could we realistically have 3 new interior offensive linemen next season? That's a tough call. All 3? No. I think any combination of 2 is a definite possibility. I'm not sure Wiley's going to be back. I don't know what happened with him in the season where they didn't even dress him. That was crazy to me. And Wisniewski's a free agent. Who else is in there? Allegretti, no meaningful snaps as a rookie. That's okay. I'm not sure what's up with LDT. All 3's kind of a stretch. I think they like Ryder less than I do in terms of play. Although I will say this, Ryder put in a good playoff run. He was much more solid than he was during the season. So maybe that's enough. I don't know. Dwight Raleigh, so are we going to add pieces in the defense with the draft first or maybe a few offensive players later in the rounds? Definitely on both of those, and I think you might see something in free agency first. That kind of will change everything else as kind of a trickle-down effect. So, hey, it is what it is. Bell, thank you very much. I do look forward to seeing that. I will try to get that box set up. Let's see. 65 TPT, how are you? Will Jones be a franchise tag and trade casualty? I think he'll be a franchise tag. I don't know about the trade part. I have no idea how the team perceives him. I've heard rumors in both directions that they want to sign him and they're not happy signing him, that they're going to make him play out the franchise tag. I don't know. But I think the safe thing to do is to tag him. Then he's yours. You have him no matter what. He seems eager to come back. That could be just public perception trying to put positive vibes out there. I don't know. But it's really up to the team whether he plays anywhere else. I could see a tag and trade possibility. I could see a tag and, hey, let's keep negotiating and eventually an extension where he doesn't have to play out the tag. But I think the tag is definitely in the scenario pretty much no matter what. Scott Vansel, do they re-sign Breland? I don't think so. He's going to get paid too much. Kansas Caroliner, do you think the Broncos Harris is too expensive? Yes. I'm a Jayhawk. I want Chris Harris on the Chiefs roster. I want him in at that nickelback where he wants to play. I would love that. But he's a $12 million a year corner. I think he's going to get that. Or 10 at the very least. So, no, I don't think the Chiefs can afford him. I think he's too expensive. Thoughts on Edward Hilaire from LSU as a late day 2, early day 3 guy? Esberg, I do like Hilaire. I would definitely be on the day 3 thing just because I'm not sure about the pounding that he can take and like the workhorse kind of thing. As much as Andy likes running backs, he does like to have one guy kind of be the dude, at least on a per game basis. So I'm just not sure on Hilaire for that. But I do like what he does. I've seen some really nice things. Haven't done any work on any film work on any running backs. I usually don't till the very end. You can pick up runners pretty much anywhere. Let's see. Prasad J, how are you? Do you think that the current UDFAs on the roster will come back for cheap? UDFAs are tough, man. They're on a Super Bowl team. Hopefully they contributed. This might be their best chance to ever make a bigger money contract on another team. So I don't think so. Some of those UDFAs, man, they got to go elsewhere in order to pay for, for their families for at least a few years. But I like where you're coming from. Dean 3121, Christian Fulton from LSU, draft target. Oh, yeah, top of my list. Is Chris Orr, the Wisconsin linebacker, on your draft list at all? MW Cats, he's on there. I haven't done his film yet, though. But he is on my list. He's lower down. Right now I have him slotted as a day 3 guy, and I always start from the top down of my initial rankings, which because of the Super Bowl, I haven't even done yet. Usually I'm halfway through the linebackers by now, but he is on the list. Cole, do you see us making any trades during the draft to gain more picks? I do. Unless somebody that they really like is there at 32, I do expect them to trade back. Pure Clutch. I feel this draft is deep at the corner position so far. How are your top 3 favorites in the draft? Fulton would be probably my number 1. Top 3. Wow. Fulton, Kinlaw, and probably Ruggs. I'm discounting CeeDee Lamb, who I think is great. And Jerry Jeudy, because they won't be there anywhere close to where the Chiefs are. But the 3 that I like, probably my favorites, are Fulton, Kinlaw, and Ruggs. Let's see. Dr. Sanitary, thanks, buddy. Appreciate the donation. Folks, Super Chat's open if you want to. That's what I'm talking about when I say that. Thank you for a great season and your continued coverage. Thank you for watching it. I think it's been a really fun year, too. I'm glad you said that. That's the whole point is, you know what? I can talk till I'm blue in the face. The wife is tired of hearing me talk. If you guys don't want to listen, then there's no reason for me to talk. So I appreciate you guys as much as you appreciate me because without an audience, my words are meaningless. So thank you very much. And Doctor, I know you contributed a ton. There's a lot of folks in here. Samir's down here as well, contributed again. A lot of contributors to this channel. I couldn't do this without you guys. Just talking into a mic is not enough these days. You got to have folks that believe in you, and I really appreciate the support. Let's see. Next question is, well, Samir. So let's go with that. Do you think Rashad Breeland will be back? I don't. I think someone's going to pay him pretty good. Evgeny, do you see Chiefs coming? Who do you see Chiefs keeping versus letting go? I've covered that for the most part. I think I'm just way behind the chat, you guys. I'm sorry. I hope Agba comes back, and I think his contract might have lightened up enough that he can. I want Ragland back. I want Sherman back for sure. Jerry Cole, what are your thoughts on Philip Rivers not going back to the Chargers? Says he wants to hit the free agent market. More power to you. Get out of the AFC West. I've had enough. I do think his play is diminished, but I think he's still a formidable quarterback, to tell you the truth. I think he could help some teams. Looks like Fitz is going back to Miami, or I'd say maybe he should go there. Gary Holland, will the Chiefs draft O-line this year? Most definitely. I'm just not sure when. Claude Thompson, I think the year off comments by Sammy were a joke. Yeah, it could be. Or could be trying to make a slight point. You never know. Let's see. Stephen Kramer, is it worth making room to get a wide receiver like Cooper? Amari Cooper? I don't think so. While Amari's good, he does have a tendency to disappear. He's not a guy that gains a ton of separation, which I think is really key. I think this offense going forward is going to be about all speed all the time. Sammy is deceptively fast. He is much faster than Amari Cooper, so I don't think that could be a replacement, to tell you the truth. Good question. Jeremy Jones, do you still think the first-round CB, or do you think that O-line is a possible linebacker? For me, unless all the corners that you like are gone, I feel like there's going to be more corners with first-round grades than O-line or linebackers. It just depends how it falls, but I think Diggs, Fulton, they're both low-end ones, high-end twos. They're both worth it over what I see from the O-line class, except for a guy or two, and they're going to be gone really early. So, yeah, I do feel that that's where the value is right now. The only thing that could creep in is if a wide receiver, one of the big ones, falls. And like I said, Ruggs would probably be my guy. I do like CeeDee Lamb a lot, though, too. So just, I don't see him falling beyond 10, though. That was Jeremy Jones. Sorry. Adam Daughtry. Have you discussed your thoughts on the offensive line? Yeah, I went into it. I think that they could replace some guys. I'm not sure about LDT's contract. Wiz and possibly Wiley could be gone. I think there's some question marks on the interior, but your tackles are showing up. So, Adam, I think they're good there. Ray Booth, can they get a long-term deal done with Jones? They can if they want to. I think Chris has to be a little more amenable, though. From what I hear, he's demanding to make more money than Frank Clark. And while that's a discussion, traditionally, interior defenders do not make more than edge rushers. So it's fighting the system a little bit. Jorge Zaragoza, what are the odds of us getting AJ Green? Next to nothing. Unfortunately, he's advanced age. He's got a huge contract demand because he's been so successful. And quite frankly, he's not fast enough to run in this offense. So, yeah, I don't think that's a big fit, to tell you the truth. Adam Daughtry, hey you as well. Thanks, bud. Let's see. Aaron, do we try to draft someone to replace Chris Jones? It seems like they tend to be that kind of thing before it's necessary. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. That's why I mentioned Kinlaw as well. If they are going to franchise tag Jones and they don't feel that they can get an extension done or that they want to, then they could draft his eventual replacement, like right now, and have him in the wings, get into that rotation. Or they could, if they're really happy with somebody, they could, if they get a chance to draft, if they get that guy, then they have the opportunity to tag and trade Chris. So I just don't know. I don't think it's an issue with personality. I think they like who he is. I think he's somebody that keeps the locker room upbeat. I think that's important. I think sometimes he takes plays off against the run in particular, and he doesn't have the impact against the run that he does against the pass. And I know from when you look back against guys that have played for Spags in the past, they've been well-rounded defensive linemen, and I'm not sure that that's the case yet. Not saying it can't be, but it could be a franchise tag situation either way. Finn, are you watching those NFL Turning Points episodes? I've seen one or two of them. I don't watch them all. That's why I kind of used the name on my last video for the Wasp play. If you haven't seen that, you guys go check it out. I'm going to do another one on Sammy's play this week before I go on vacation. And I got a couple of things lined up for you next week when I get back. Mark Sawchuk, are they interested in re-signing Ogba? I think they are. I think they need an update on his physical condition, though. I don't know how to say your name, but you asked a good question. So who did the Chiefs retain out of Pennell, Williams, Suggs, and Ragland? Pennell and maybe Pennell and Ragland. Who's next? Jeremy Jones. Can we keep Suggs? They could. I don't know that Terrell wants to. He just got another ring. He might just want to ride off into the sunset, to tell you the truth. Or he might take a one day with the Ravens, or he might even go back to just be a Raven again. I don't know. I wish I had a better idea for him. So let's see. Daryl Miller. I tried to do a super chat, but it wouldn't let me. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I don't know what does or doesn't let that happen. So I appreciate the effort and ask a question anyway. Illegal Cruz, do you think that Pringle will have a breakout season next year and become part of the starting lineup? I think he has an outside chance. I don't know about a breakout season, but I think he has the ability to be a starter, and I want to see him get a shot at it, to tell you the truth. He's got good speed. He's not quite as fast as Sammy, but he is pretty quick. And I think he's made some plays when he's had some opportunity. I'm really interested to see how Pringle progresses in the offseason. Saw that about Jones. Saw that one. Looking for the question marks, you guys. Chris Kesey, do you think Mahomes takes a Brady hometown discount? On the first one, I'm not so sure. I could see him doing that later in his career, but he does make a lot of money already. And one thing I am pretty certain of, especially as he's gone on through this season, he's gotten a lot more adamant about celebrating how good he is. He wants to win. And I think his people, Chris Cabot and Lee Steinberg are very aware of what it takes to build a championship roster. And they know that after the big quarterback contract, a lot of teams go south. So there might be a cautionary tale there. I just don't think it's going to be a huge discount. Lou Kramer, mock draft show, is taking the Florida CB Henderson in the first and maybe Murray in the second. I don't think Murray drops all the way to 64. I'll tell you that. And Henderson's okay. Not a guy at the top of my list, but if that's the top that's there, then Chiefs like him. I could easily see that. John Schneider, what's the deal with the Kemp kid? He got hurt in the preseason. I think he's a free agent, but I would not find it shocking that he comes back. Dave Tobe loves him, so that's a big thing. Pono Kawhi, aloha. If Ben Enemy finds a head coaching position, who do you want filling the vacancy of OC? Okay, it's most likely going to go to Kafka. That's just kind of the way that it works. It's kind of a stepping stone all the way up. I'm trying to think if there's somebody outside the organization that I would like to see there. And quite frankly, off the top of my head, I don't. So my guess would be that they continue to promote from within, and it would be Kafka up next, is my understanding. Let's see. Next question. Southern Bell, what's your opinion of a 17-game regular season? If they get an extra bye, I can live with that. I'm not sure the players will, but I can understand. It makes the league a little bit more money. It should also take away a preseason game, which I do feel is a little overdone. I think the preseason puts wear and tear on guys that don't need it. You know what I mean? So great question. Let's see. Phil Magruder, how are you, dude? Who would you sign, Joe Thuney or Quentin Spain, or re-sign Wisniewski to play guard? I like Joe Thuney. I liked him coming out. He didn't have the greatest year this year, but I feel like if he could get back down to his college weight, I feel like he could be really good in this offense. I would like to see them go after him. I have a feeling the Pats want him back pretty bad, though. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this season kind of soured him on him. I don't know. I would like to see that. And I would not mind seeing Wiz come back. The problem is I don't think Wiz can stand up at his age to a full season. I love the idea of Wiz being the backup guy or a guy that can take over for the playoff run like we saw this year. I mean, I think that played itself out perfectly for Wiz. So I'm down with both those things. Pono, should we use Watkins or Jones to move up in the draft? I just don't think – well, A, you're going to have to tag or extend Jones. If you extend him, then you're not getting rid of him. If you tag him, that could be a possibility. Watkins, I don't think anybody's going to take Watkins on his current contract. It's just so heavy on capital for a guy that had 4 or 5 good games out of 19. I don't think many teams are going to give anything up for that. So let's see. Anybody know what happened to McCoy? Good question, Finn. I certainly don't. Scrolling issues again. McCoy won't be on the roster, I don't think. I can't be 100% of that, Jeremy, but that's my thought. Dan Durham, if we got to the Super Bowl last year, what we have got, I'm not sure what you're asking there. Sorry, dude. I'm not reading very well. Aligo Cruz, do you think that there'll be a lot better next season on defense, no matter who we get, because of what they did this year for the first time and had a defensive scheme? I think some of that's going to be big, but they're going to lose a number of guys. The secondary in particular, the cornerbacks are decimated right now. So it's really going to depend who they bring in. And coverage is becoming more or just as important as pass rush. So that's a tough one. All right, we're almost at an hour, folks. I'm going to try to speed through these now. Anthony, is anybody else see the tickets holder? Oh, sorry. That's not even a question for me. Lori Brusso asks, should we trade Jones for draft picks to help the cap? Possibly. I don't know if it's a scenario, but it's a really complicated scenario for that. Yeah, they'd have to agree to a contract with the team getting him and that kind of thing. That takes a long time. The tag is definitely the first step, but that is a possibility. Let's see. Justin Trova, do you think Mahomes will get too high to keep? No, I don't think so. He's going to get this monster contract and reset not only the quarterback market, but the NFL market. I think he's going to be just fine after that. David Shaw, is Keith Reeser still on the team? Do you think they can flourish in Spag's system? He was released off of injured reserve, I believe. I haven't seen anything about them signing him back to a futures contract. And quite frankly, I know everybody likes Reeser because he did well in the AAF, but that didn't make him any better in the NFL. He washed out of the NFL because he wasn't a good enough player. And I didn't see anything from when he was in camp to make me think otherwise. So they need more depth than Keith Reeser. Let's see. Folks, remember, question marks at the beginning of your question is what helps me find them. Like David's and Justin's that I just got. Let's see. Okay, Paul Schillmeyer, I think that's how you say it. Do you think the Chiefs might be tempted to trade Hardman for multiple rounds? No, not at all. He is the future. They're going to be in tandem, Hardman and Hill, for a long time to come. Yevgeny, where do you see cheap contributors come from in 2020? I think the draft class in 2020 has to be as good as the draft class in 2019 or better. You got meaningful snaps from 3 guys in the 2020 draft class. I'd like to see it out of 4 next time. That's tough, though. It comes from if you can trade your first and maybe your 4th or 5th and get 4 picks in the 2nd and 3rd, you can do that. I think that's what it becomes, and that's what I'd like to see them do. Jeremy Green, is Josh Gordon done in the league? He may very well be. I don't know the specific circumstances or what rules technically. I think it's another year ban. I'm not 100%. But I don't know if anybody's going to take more chances on him. And the last one, we'll go with Big Test. How are you, buddy? If you had to put a percentage on it, what would it be for Chris Jones staying in KC? Right now, my money, whether it's on the franchise tag or the extension, I put it about 55% that he stays in KC. I know that's not what y'all want to hear. It's probably a lot less than you hoped. But I do think there's a significant part of this that he could be traded or play out the season on 1 and be gone. So, oh, wait, one more. Claude Thompson came in afterwards. Last one. Mahomes is the safest bet in the NFL. Is there a possibility of an 85-plus guaranteed deal to try and keep cap hits low and spread it out? 85% of the cap is what you're thinking? I don't know. The CBA could totally rewrite how this happens. It'd be interesting to see, but hey, I won't put it past them. I just think that for the owners, I think they want to put specific numbers on it, not percentages. So we'll see what happens. But I appreciate you guys. Ton of you guys are doing great. Almost 200 people on here on an off season. That's awesome. And I know it's the off season, but hey, we got to say it, right? So I have more film coming for you on Sammy Watkins this week. Don't miss that. It'll probably be on Wednesday. Dan Harms has a film review coming later in the week. I'll have content all off season, you guys. Spread the word. We'll talk Chiefs every day. Between podcasts and everything else, I'll be here for you. So let me know what you think. I'll have some new teas up in about 2 weeks when I get back too. So hope you guys have a great one, and I'll talk to you next time.